Hello, everyone. Sorry I didn't get this posted yesterday, but I want to say a bit. This is now week 3 of 6 weeks, so I want to talk a little bit about rocks today and the rock cycle. And then your assignment will be the rock cycle lab. All right, when we're looking at the rock cycle, we're basically looking at 3 types of rocks. And I'll say a little bit more about those in a minute. But when we're talking about the rock cycle, we're talking about going from solid rock to liquid rock and how that plays itself out. One thing to realize is everybody kind of knows what lava is, right? That liquid rock. Once, I just want you to understand that lava and magma are the same thing. The only difference is magma is when that liquid rock is inside the earth, and lava is when the liquid rock exits the earth. But they're the same thing. They're a crystallized version of our rock that we know, solid rock. All right, so we'll take a look at the sedimentary rock, the metamorphic rock, a little bit about magma, and so on. So when we're talking about a full rock cycle, we're talking about sedimentary rock that melts, or igneous rock that metamorphosed, which means that it changes. Weathering of rock, and then the liquefaction or crystallization of rock. So you can take a look at this cycle if you want to do that. All right, now as magma or that liquid rock solidifies and begins to cool, it will crystallize, and this will put various types of rock into the earth itself. So take a little look at that. We're all familiar with, volcanoes and the expulsion of that crystallized lava, which is, as I said, merely magma as it exits. Now, that crystallization, can come in many forms, and it depends on how quickly it cools, right? The faster it cools, the smaller the particles are going to be. And obviously, then the quicker that it cools, the larger the particles will be. Now, we classify rock based upon several different characteristics. Texture is one, are the grains inside small, very fine, and so on. How much glass is inside that rock. Here we look at a very fine grain texture versus the granite here, which has a very large textured pieces. So glassiness, right? How many vesicles or voids that are in the rock. So that's one big thing. All right, if you want to take a look at Bowen's reaction series, it's not something we're going to cover at all, but sometimes it can be interesting. But we classify according to that particular system. Now, one of the 3 types of rocks are igneous rocks. And we will name those igneous rocks, whether, they're more granite and have more granite in them. And granite has a very high silica content, which means it's glassier looking, shinier. And that content is about 70%. This is what, we have a lot of granite here in the United States. Another type of igneous rock is basaltic rock, basalt. It's very common, has a lot of iron and magnesium in it. And then our sedimentary rocks are the second type, and this is where we would find our fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, because they are the product of buried plant material that has been covered with sediment, which eventually becomes more rock-like over time. We basically have the two types of sedimentary rock, detrital or detritus, which is dead organic matter, or chemical, usually in the form of some type of gas material. All right, so the detritus is going to be more of your solid rock materials, and the chemical will be more of the gas or liquid types of materials. Some of our common sedimentary rocks that we would know: sandstone, limestone, very common in our area, Illinois. Right? Coal being the kind of the most common. We produce our sedimentary rocks through a process that's called lithification, which means that sediments are then transformed into a more solid type of rock. And the way that is done is through compaction, right? Layer upon layer, applying a certain weight to the sediment and transforming it into a more rock-like. Sedimentary rock also is where we're going to find our fossil layers. And then our third type of rock is the metamorphic rock, which means it's rock that's been changed from another type of rock, either our igneous rock or our sedimentary rock, or it's made from other metamorphic rock. So when we're talking about metamorphism, we're talking about a change, right? And usually that change occurs because of one of two things: either great temperature or pressure. One of the big examples would be shale is a metamorphic rock. So, take a look at these. But, the heat and the pressure are the two main ways that rocks are going to change either igneous or sedimentary into a new type of metamorphic rock. So take a look at these if you have some time. And like I said, some of the common metamorphic rock are slate. So here's a nice listing for you. Marble is another metamorphic rock. Quartz is a metamorphic rock. And these are, of course, used like granite, in building materials. Lots of deposits that we see under the Earth's surface. Here we see our magma chamber, and we see, because of these intrusions and things, we have the escape of the magma into the various layers of the Earth. This is where a lot of our metals and metalloids come into being. So I'm not going to spend much time here on metals. So our fossil fuels, like I said, are also coal, oil, and natural gas. Those are the solid, liquid, and gas form of our rocks. And of course, they're formed because of the plant material that gets covered in sediment, which then changes into our sedimentary type of rock. One of the things we hear commonly is talk about fracking. And our metamorphic rock or shale is probably a rock that is very common. We talk about fracking, but we put chemicals into the rock and then ignite those chemicals, and we can break that shale into smaller pieces, and then we can extract the oil from the smaller pieces. So that's kind of our rock cycle. I'll post a little video to go along with this lecture, and then complete the rock cycle lab for this week's assignment. Again, this is week 3 of 6. Any questions, just drop me an email. So far, all of the assignments that I've graded have been good. Continue to turn those in. If you're late on an assignment, turn it in anyway, because partial credit is better than no credit. That's it for week 3. Thanks. I'll post this and get the assignment up.